Hello and welcome to my channel. Welcome to Daring Dating. Do you want to hear 5 tips that will get him hooked in the first couple of dates? Listen up. Hello again, I hope you're doing fantastic, and in this video I would love to talk to you about how to get that person hooked in the first date. I know most of you, the majority have problems first of all getting a date, and once you get to date it seems that people vanish, and that's really frustrating. I know the feeling, and that's because somehow we don't manage to really hook that person, to really make them feel interested. You think you're doing everything possible. You think you're giving yourself or not giving yourself. You never know exactly how to, go either too far, too little. You're always confused on what to give and what to get. So let me give you a few tips that will get you, into the right state. 5 tips that I'm going to give you now that will hopefully, surely help you to hook that date and to get them really interested and excited. Listen up. First tip, date. Yes, date, that's what I mean, truly date. We may fall into the trap of having endless conversations, and I see that happening all the time. People keep talking and finding excuses not to meet. Please do not leave more than 1-2 weeks maximum without actually meeting that person. Do insist. First of all, you will get rid of scammers. You will get rid of people who just want to play around. Maybe they're married, they have a relationship going on. You want somebody who really wants to commit and wants to see you straight away. In my case, for instance, I never gave my phone number to anyone I hadn't met physically. And I said, if you want to earn it, go and come with me on a date, and then afterwards I'll give them phone number or not. I mean, if I was not interested. But what I mean is, don't make the conversation endless and aim for a date. That's the aim of talking to somebody in a dating app. So first of all, go date, and if he offers you to go to his place, you know already what he's going after. There's ways of dodging that and telling him that you actually prefer to go on a different date, and I talk about that in the course, and I talk about that in other places. If you need to find out more about that, let me know in the comments and I'll help you out with that. But you can dodge the situation and basically build a story. The most important thing about dating is you're going to build a story of your relationship. So you have to make it exciting. You don't want to start a relationship making it boring, dull and run-of-the-mill, something that everyone else would do. You want to make it special. So from the first moment, he will be excited. He will be thinking, oh my God, this person is different. This person is special. I can also give you tips on best first date, second date, and the rest. But make it really special and make it memorable for you and for him, because that rush of dopamine that will be coming when you're going on a special date, and something happened, and by the end of the day you just can't wait to see the other person again. That's what makes a relationship really stable, nice and coherent, and that's what you want to get from day one. So go for the really special date. Tip number 2, call him. Yes, it's as simple as it sounds. I know we just, especially now, 21st century, we've got WhatsApp and all the different apps for texting. We tend to text and send photos and emojis and little texts and ha-ha-has and lols, whatever. But there's nothing like a call. There's nothing like the sound of your voice and that bond that you started in the first date. It doesn't mean that you have to call him all the time, or he's got to be calling you, or you have to spend hours on the phone. Not even every day, but from time to time, maybe at the end of the day, instead of saying good night, how was it, did you have a good day, you can just say, hey, I got 5 minutes before jumping into the shower or before starting my dinner or whatever, and just quickly gonna give you a call and see how you're doing. And that keeps the bond. That really, the sound of your voice, the sound of his voice, that really makes it a lot more coherent, and the bond gets tighter and tighter. So from time to time, jump into a call, and then that will allow him also, that will give him permission to also give you a call whenever that it's needed. So yeah, just get that little bond going and getting closer and closer to him. So yeah, give yourself permission to call and give him permission to give you a ring. As simple as that. Tip number 3, add your share. What is that? That means that always offer yourself to add a part in the date. Yes, you might think, do I have to pay? Yes, and I know this is very controversial, and some people culturally or for whatever reason they say no, a woman never has to pay. I totally disagree. If you want to encounter, if you want to have that balance of equality, if you want to be equal, if you don't want to be dependent, if you don't want to be just the beauty thing in the corner that looks always very pretty but doesn't add any value, please add your share. That means when you go out for the date, it doesn't mean that you have to pay the whole bill. Also depends on your your economy. I mean, if you're definitely not working, or you're not having a great job and he's got a much better job and much more income, then find a little balance there. But why don't offering just buying the ice cream at the end of the meal, or just getting a coffee or something as small, or the popcorn when you go to the movies. It's just about the gesture, it's about the offering, it's about saying, hey, I want to be part of this. It's not that you spend a lot of dosh in the date. It's not about that. But also, if you earn more than him, that would be pretty unfair also to let him pay for everything just because he's a man. So I know there's a lot of culturally related things in here, and you always think the man has to pay, and in other countries it's completely the opposite. Like we are women and we have to pay everything. Just find a balance. But if you are actually willing to be part of that, if you add a bit of your share, he will also feel that you're in a team. Because if you just take for granted that he's going to take care of everything, I tell you, a lot of guys don't like that. They don't like the fact that you're not a team player, that you're not even willing to contribute even a small part. It's just the gesture that counts. Sometimes just the fact of just pulling out your wallet and say, yeah, I'm willing to pay, I'm willing to do my share. He most likely will say, no, I'll take care of that. But at least make that little effort. And I know you might be, oh my God, I hope he says, no, will let me pay. Sometimes that's the risk. But I'm sure 99% of occasions they're actually happy to pay, because they know maybe your situation is not the best. But always, as I said, offer. Or if you go for a night out, you might just make a cake, or just say, look, let's prepare a picnic, and you can bring part of the picnic. As I said, it's not about the amount of money you invest. It's about you contributing to whatever is happening in that date. That really counts. And he'll be flattered. He'll be very happy. I'll explain what I did in my dates, and you might think it's bizarre, but I would always offer to pay half at least. And when I was in a date that actually I did not really enjoy, or I thought, I'm not willing to go for a second date, I will always offer to pay, and I will always just get the bill unpaid. Why? Because that way I felt that I didn't owe him anything. And if I really liked the date, if I really enjoyed it, I will let him pay, and I will say, next is on me. So somehow I would owe him one, and I will say, hey, the next one, it's my turn to contribute to the date. And maybe I will take him for a coffee. It doesn't mean that I had to take him for a $200 meal or anything like that. But I felt that it was more balanced. So, find the formula you like. It doesn't really matter, but always make sure that you feel like you're contributing to the team, to the cause, and it feels like you're part of the whole scenario, and you're really adding value and adding your share. Do so. Try it. It's not that difficult. Tip number 4, show interest, but genuine interest. That means get excited about the things he's saying, he's showing to you. And I know sometimes the dates are not as exciting as we wish, but still, you might always learn from that person. And actually, if you listen carefully, if you really, really put your ears and eyes and attention into what he's saying, you might find that it's actually more interesting. Sometimes we get distracted by the environment, by our phones. please always keep the phone aside. Do not bring it into the conversation, because then you will not focus on him. And I tell you, that's so annoying. I mean, imagine you going out with a guy and he's more focused on the phone than on yourself. That's pretty bad. It's not a good sign. So don't do that. Please focus on the person you're going out with. Make sure you're paying attention. And you know, when you go into a place, if it smells of coffee, you can talk about the aroma of coffee. If it's a beautiful place that he's showing, you know, his favorite corner, praise it, you know, say, oh, this is beautiful, oh my God, you know, whatever it is that you feel about that. If he's telling you a story about something that happened in the past, you can laugh, you can feel sorry, whatever it is, but just give him feedback on whatever he's telling you. Because first of all, you know, he will see that you're actually a human being who feels, who's empathetic, and who understands. And most importantly, he will see that you're listening. And it's so important, because otherwise there's no feedback there, there's no relationship, it's just a one way. And also when you're talking, you also want to hear that feedback from other people. And you know, he will also feel that you enjoy life, that you really get excited about things, and it'll make you a lot more interesting than someone who's like, or doesn't say a word. I think you will also get very frustrated if you walk around with somebody and you're showing him, you know, the places of your childhood, or you introduce them to your friends and they just don't say a word. They don't react to that. That is really bad. It feels awkward, and you know, you expect them to say, oh, that's really interesting, that's really nice, I love your friends, that place where you grew up, it's fantastic, that's so beautiful. It really fills up your heart, and you know, and gives you a really great impression of the other person. So please show genuine interest. Listen up and make sure that you give them feedback, good feedback, or honest feedback anyway. If you don't like it, you can also say that, but always listen and give feedback. Do so. Tip number 5, last but not least, live the present. And this is a statement that does not only apply to relationships, but to everything in life. We tend to dwell in the past a lot, and we feel nostalgia, sadness, or sometimes we feel we live in the future, and then we feel this anxiety and this need to just look forward all the time to what's going to happen. That's something that we cannot really control. So live the present, enjoy what's happening now. When you have a conversation, don't talk about the past all the time. You're going to relate to the past somehow, and you're going to tell stories of the past, but especially do not dwell on the negative. Do not get stuck on the past relationships and the disasters, the divorces, the breakups, or how wonderful your ex-boyfriend was, or whatever it was, or how disastrous your relationship was, you know, and you're still not healing, because that is the impression that we'll get, that you're always living in the past. And we don't want to live in the past. We want to move forward. We want to move on, and we want to live in the present. And don't go too far in the future. I mean, you can obviously talk about future plans, things that are close by, things that you're going to do in the next few weeks, maybe months. But do not try to give the impression that you want to fill that space of boyfriend, you know, that you really want to have a relationship straight away, because otherwise he'll run away. He'll panic, thinking, oh my God, you know, I feel a lot of pressure. So just talk about what's happening now. What are your plans in the short run? Of course, the past is part of who you are, and you can tell stories, but as I do not dwell on the negative. This applies not only to relationships, but to life in general, and to your relationships with everybody else. Because I see so many people really just staying last year, previous year, and you know, always banking on what's happening in the past, dwelling on that moment, and it doesn't help you, because you get stuck literally in months ago or years ago, and you don't move on. And you need to move on, and you're here and now, and that's what's important. And this is where you really have to stay and move from here to the future. So, you know, as I said, leave the present, talk about your plans short term, but make sure that you're enjoying now, right today, the date that you're having with that person. As I told you before, forget about distractions and focus on that person, and make sure you're really listening, enjoying, and building something memorable. Well, I hope you enjoyed these 5 tips, not 10. These 5 tips, and I would love to know how they work for you in your first date or in your first date, and how was the response from the other person, from the other half. So please drop a comment below, and if you want to hear my more tips, you know, my vision on relationships, on dating, my experience and the experience of the friends and the people around that I've been helping, you know, with all the different tips that I could gather and that I could experience myself, I'll be very happy to, you know, give you more tips and share more of my experience. So please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you press the alarm button too, so then you will see when new videos come up. Subscribe in the button below, and like the video, and you know, that will allow me to also share these tips to the world and be more visible. So thank you so much. It's a pleasure just, you know, having you on the other side. I'd love to see you again. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be lots of fun. Let me know in the comments, how did it go? What happened when you just offered to pay? How was the conversation? How is it changing your way of interacting when you really listen, when you're really in the present? Let me know how it worked for you, and I'll be happy to help you out. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask me. I'll be more than happy to answer them, and I'll be, you know, delighted to read your comments. So until very soon, see you soon.